Okay, say I met you at one of my book signings for Don't Make the Black Kids Angry or sometime in the future. And after the meeting, I said, hey, a couple of you guys, I want you to stick around. I really got a great investment opportunity for you. It can't miss. Maybe somebody would. And what would you do if I said, listen, I want you guys to invest $5 billion in the city of Baltimore. Does that sound like a good idea? No. You'd probably A, throw me out of the bookstore before asking for your money back that you just spent on my book, because I was obviously a crazy person. Well, there is a crazy person that is leading a group that wants to put $5 billion in the city of Baltimore. There's a city councilman that says, no, we can't let them do that because that is nothing but a bunch of racism.
City Councilman Ryan Dorsey, a political newcomer elected in November to represent Northeast Baltimore, is under fire for suggesting that Under Armour CEO Kevin Plank's development plans amount to white supremacy. The mayor, city council members, and community members have rebuked Dorsey for the comments he posted this week on a Facebook group for Baltimore City voters. White supremacy cozying up to white supremacy. Shocker. Dorsey wrote on a thread about Plank advising President Donald J. Trump on job growth. Plank, Dorsey said, is not about Baltimore. He is, himself, an occupying, colonizing, culturally appropriating force. Councilman Eric Costello, who represents parts of South Baltimore, said he's deeply disturbed by Dorsey's comments. He said he considers the comments highly disrespectful for a public official. I personally know Kevin and can speak firsthand to the commitment to the city, to the people who live and work here, and most importantly, kids in the city, Costello said. Plank's Sagamore Development Company is building the $5.5 billion Port Covington project. The development is a waterfront mixed-use community that will include new headquarters for Under Armour, housing, restaurant, shops, and a manufacturing plant. When I talked to Councilman Dorsey today, he stood by his comments. He said Port Covington is the most egregious example of continued segregation in Baltimore. Plank's vision is to benefit an utterly white population, Dorsey said, while disregarding the needs of minority communities. It's not about building for the Baltimore we already have. It's about fabricating a new future for Baltimore that ignores the real needs here, Dorsey said. He said he does not regret the language he chose to use in the post on the Facebook page. Dorsey, who is white, is a 35-year-old businessman who's lived in Northeast Baltimore all of his life. He campaigned as a progressive.
That's not the first time I've heard something like this. In my own little town of Wilmington, Delaware, some fool, I forget the name of the company, it was a huge company, well-respected, it was a big shipping company, right? When I say they're a fool, I actually don't mean that. A big company wanted to come in and buy the Port of Wilmington, which is losing $8 million a year, but the state puts the money in and pretends it's all good. Say, hey, we'll take it over. We'll spend $250 million to build a new port. And Wilmington, Delaware then will be a center of all these traffic and jobs and commercial activity, because you're basically in the middle of the Atlantic seaboard, this massive superhighway of goods and services coming through this port. First, everybody said, okay, sounds cool, let's do it. But then a bunch of black people got together, and they actually roped my brother into this. And he convinced the state legislature and the city council that by building a new port, a $250 million investment in Wilmington, Delaware, worse than Baltimore, is somehow a racist plot to pull one over on the taxpayers of the city. So the guys that were doing this, made the proposal, they just shrugged their shoulders and said, you know what, we'll just go elsewhere. I mean, we see that a lot. We see that a lot in gentrified neighborhoods. We've done stories in Portland, Seattle, Baltimore, Washington, Oakland, New York, Brooklyn, Bronx. Large-scale black demonstrations about somebody building a nice little apartment or something, and they come in and they go, no, we don't want white people. No, they're very explicit. They're not looking over the shoulder. They're not using euphemisms. They say, no, we don't want white people in this neighborhood. How about Portland? Trader Joe's was going to build a Trader Joe's in the ghetto of Portland, Oregon. They were expecting everybody to pat them on the back. What they got was 50 people standing outside on their lot holding a press conference saying, no, we don't want white people in this black neighborhood. Listen, I know how the game is played. Oftentimes, the game is played where you say that. That means, that means you kind of want them to ignore you, but you want them to co-opt you. You're going to stick your tin cup out, and 6 months from now, somebody's going to sprinkle a few coins in there, and all of a sudden, you're going to be very happy with the Trader Joe's or the $5 billion investment. But I mean, sometimes that's the game they're playing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's pure racial hostility. So that's what we document on this channel, right? We don't just document the violence and how the reporters and public officials ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, and even lie about it. We also document racial hostility. I mean, it was just a few months ago, like a bus was in Washington, D.C. It was taking investors into Southeast Washington. People would look around these buildings and go, yeah, I'll take a piece of that. Sure, I'll buy it. Sure, why not? I mean, people do this. Big real estate companies organize big investors. It's not an easy thing getting people with money and insight and guts and smarts to hop on a bus and come look at, old buildings in dangerous neighborhoods. But they somehow managed to do it. That didn't make any difference. The black people in Washington stopped the bus and started throwing rocks at it. It kind of puts in perspective all these calls for more stuff, more stuff, more stuff, more stuff, more education, more housing, more hospitals, more roads, more free stuff, more. I mean, you get people going down there going, hey, can I put some nice stuff in your neighborhood? They throw rocks at them and they say, not a chance, because if you put all that nice white stuff in this nasty black neighborhood, all that's going to do is make the black kids angry.